Welcome to Beyond Normal Days. I'm your host, Guillermo. This is episode 25 featuring Shaun Cruda. Shaun is a DJ, producer, and audio engineer from Los Angeles, California. He represents MadHouse DJs and SoCal Synth Society with releases on No Religion Lab, Tech Avenue Records, and more. Shaun is someone who I've seen grow musically throughout the years that we have known each other, and vice versa. He is consistently cooking in the studio and sharpening his technique on the decks, which is a big inspiration to a lot of friends and artists. In this episode, Shaun discusses his musical upbringing while growing up in Los Angeles, immersing himself in the audio engineering world with a touring band, venturing out to electronic music, and being impacted by the Electric Daisy Carnival in 2010. Shaun also talks about the collaborative project with his friend Double A called Press, which I have the pleasure to have tracks of. He talks about his union with MadHouse DJs, getting more into modular gear and synthesizers in recent years with his SoCal Synth Society family, and what keeps him inspired throughout life. Make sure to check out his Culture LP out on Tech Avenue Records, which can be found on all streaming platforms, alongside Beatport and TrackSource. Follow Shaun Cruda on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Shaun Cruda to stay updated for future and upcoming projects. Make sure to check out all his synth, modular, and production videos on his IG page as well. Follow Beyond Normal on Twitter at BeyondNormal_, and on Instagram and Facebook at BeyondNormalOfficial. Thank you for tuning in, and now please welcome Shaun Cruda.
Hello. Yeah, I'm just here in the studio. Yeah, I know there's some things we need to talk about. I get it. I'm very aware. Let me call you back. I'm working.
This is Beyond Normal Days, and today I'm remotely sitting down with Shaun Cruda. How are you, brother? How's it going?
I am doing great, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I just want to start off by thanking you. Thank you for being on my podcast, on the show. We've known each other for a couple years now, or if you want to say several years, and we've both seen each other grow and evolve musically. So this is going to be a good little conversation that people will see the relationship that we have, and then just more importantly, get to know your musical journey.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Thank you again for having me. It's a pleasure. And yes, we have known each other for some time, and it's nice to kind of recap and continue this conversation and catch up,
Yes. All right, man. So, like every other episode, I let the guest tell the listeners where you're from. So, yeah.
So my name is Shaun Cruda. I'm from Los Angeles, California. I am a music producer, engineer, performer, artist. Grew up here in, like I said, Los Angeles. And for a short period of my life when I was a kid, I lived in Mexico for about a year. And that was a very important part of my life.
Nice. Mexico. That 1 year, how old were you when you were there?
I was about 10 years old, give or take.
Oh, nice.
So I stayed out there with my pops, and he worked on a rancho, and there was ostriches, and we would hang out with ostriches and put them in their cages and all that kind of stuff. And it was fun.
Yeah, ostrich is nice. Quick question, like, well, how was it? Wait, and you would deal with like full grown ostriches or just like baby ones?
I was like 10 years old dealing with full grown ostriches, bro. It was nuts.
They can, well, just like any other animal, they can attack, right?
Yeah, they get aggressive. Like they'd always steal your hat. Like if you get too close to the cage and you're wearing like if you're wearing like a baseball hat, they'll just snatch that shit off.
God
It
damn.
was pretty funny, man. Like they were very much like dinosaurs. They reminded me a lot of like Jurassic Park velociraptors, that whole thing, you know what I mean? Like they just had that vibe. They walked that way, and like I was 10, so I was like, that was the closest thing I could associate to an ostrich was like a velociraptor, you know?
That's that. You're actually like one of the few people that have probably got to experience the closest to a Jurassic Park movie, or just lifestyle.
Yeah, that's probably a good thing, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think I wouldn't like if I had I don't know. Okay, question for you: if you had tickets, would you go to Jurassic Park without seeing the movie? Like if you just didn't, that movie didn't exist, and it was just like, hey, bro, we're gonna go see some dinosaurs on an island. Somebody recreated dinosaurs. You want to go? And like you had tickets to go to some random remote island with dinosaurs. Would you do it?
It's funny that you're saying that because I know this conversation popped up recently in B Rio's Dr. Green Thumb's podcasts, and some of them, and it's funny because now me knowing that debate and some of the answers that they said,
Yeah.
some people are like, "Now you are dumb," but me honestly, without seeing the movie,
Yeah.
for sure, yeah, I would be on there. I would be in there just trying to check it out, being nosy and shit.
Damn,
But
bro. Yeah. I guess. I mean, yeah. I mean, you know what I mean? I guess like if it was like during the day and somebody brought it up, like, yo, dog, I'm about to go see some dinosaurs. You're like, all right, cool. As long as we're back by like dark, you know, as long as we're back before sundown, like we should be fine, right?
I know, dude. That would be intense. I think I would. I don't know. I'm a curious, just human being in general. So, and like in many other people. So, I would like to give it a shot. See what's good.
All right, I like it. Final answer?
Yes. Final answer. I'm down.
Oh yeah, that's what's up, bro.
Yeah, man. But that's tight. That's sick. And so 1 year in Mexico. The rest of your teenage years and whatnot was over here in the States in Los Angeles. How was your musical upbringing? Yeah. How was your musical upbringing?
Man, Los Angeles was good to me, man. I grew up here in South Bay, Hawthorne, Inglewood. And growing up, I was kind of like the nerd in school. So it's like, I didn't really have too many friends type kind of thing like that. And like I was more to myself, and so that led me into like, like I drew a lot. I drew a lot of like cartoons and like I was very artsy, you know what I mean? I kept to myself a lot. I wasn't part of like the popular crew or whatever. And that somehow transitioned me into playing music. And I got involved with music. And when I was a kid, like I had my Windows 98 or Windows XP, whatever kind of computer it was at the time. And, I was by myself and I would plug my guitar into my computer and try to record. And that was like my first experience like with recording music. And when I heard my instrument on a computer that like I played like as like my first recording, that at that point, that's when I was like, you know what, this is something I really want to do. And like I said, being in LA, I had an opportunity to work with a lot of bands. So my background is like playing in punk rock bands. That's how I got my foot in the door, if you will. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was good. Everything kind of was happened from there.
And playing in a punk rock, said punk rock, but punk rock band. What? How did that endeavor go, or how did that kind of, turn out?
I mean, it was good, man. I was a fan of the music first. That was what the thing was to do, was to go to these backyard punk shows. And I was a fan of the band first. And I just reached out to them and like I asked them, how could I get involved? Or, and this was like I was barely learning to play guitar, and I was like, how could I get involved? I want to be a part of it. I knew what I liked with my ears. So I trusted my ears and I was like, hey, I want to, check this band out. I talked to them. They're like, hey, can you come to, next week to practice? And I was like, yeah, for sure. And, I didn't really know how to shred that much. So I had like a VHS tape and it was like a 80s hair metal VHS tape that my grandmother had bought me for Christmas, a couple years prior to this moment in time. So I would watch it and just like learn a couple riffs, learn some power chords. And then I ended up going to that band practice and I got the gig and, I was the new guitar player for the band. So that was cool.
Nice.
And also I wanted to back up just a bit too. I mean, obviously being from LA, man, I mean, music was everywhere. I feel like, I don't know. I mean, obviously this is very like, I don't know much about growing up anywhere else because I did grow up in LA, but I feel like LA was a very much a melting pot for music, we had Power 106, back in the day that my aunt would listen to. She was always getting me into like hip hop. Growing up, I listened to a lot of hip hop, Ghetto Boys, all that, Da Brat and like all that 90s, like random hit Mace and like all that like random 90s stuff. My Aunt Shannon got me into all that. So shout out to her and mad love to her for just inspiring me with all that. K-Day was a big thing. You know, all the hip hop stations, man, in LA, just surrounding the airwaves, you know? And then my uncle was into like thrash metal. So I would listen to a lot of like Slayer and like Metallica Kill 'Em All album. And, you know, so this was at like an early age, man. I was like 7th grade, you know, listening to all this music and just being so heavily influenced by all this music. It was really an incredible time for music at that point too. You know what I mean? A lot of people, I feel like a lot of people reference like the 80s and like the 70s and the 60s and like, you know, every decade like has its music, you know, and I think that the 90s sometimes gets overrated. Like a lot of people are 80s, bro, but I mean the 90s, there was a lot of culture going on in the 90s, man. You know, we saw, you know, our generation, we seriously saw like a big, you know, change in like what was coming. You know what I mean? There was a lot more experimental. I think we were fortunate. Fortunate and we got to see people taking a lot of risks. You know what I mean?
That's a key point that you're saying. That I never kind of really thought about that, but I do respect and I agree with you that the 90s was actually a dope, like pivotal, like moment in music as well too. And then even right now as well too, if you think about it, a lot of 90s culture, whether it's fashion, music as well too, everything, you know, like just culturally, a lot of people are how do you say it? They're
bringing it back.
Yes, exactly. There we go. Yeah, they're bringing all that back as well too. So when I say culturally, just everything, cultural, music, fashion, and everything. So I think we can tell, and that's, you know, what you're saying is been proven right with if everybody takes a look around what's going on. You know, so,
I think the cool thing with when fashion and culture comes back from about 10 years ago. It's funny because I came up with, I mean, could be a real theory, but like I have always thought about it, like, because it's the way I feel. It's like when we're kids, we like want what we wanted when we were kids. We want that when we're adults because now we have the money and it's tangible and we can get it, right? So like to this day, I still want a pair of fucking Iversons, you know, some Reeboks, you know what I mean? Like I didn't have them then, I want them now. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like MTV Cribs. Like I remember whatever the first MTV Cribs was, like I still want that MTV Cribs now. You know what I mean? I don't really want like the all new fucking decked out fucking crib. It's like we aspired to like chase what we were taught as kids. You know what I mean? So it kind of goes full circle. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like that's why you know what I mean? It's kind of one of those things.
No, that's true, and it's funny because, well, not funny, but in the, you know, time of age that we are, the connections that we've made, we have that access to those, you know, whether, you know, a pair of shoes or a CD or a record or something, whatever it is, or a jersey, something tangible that we could now. We have more connections to actually get that. So I do agree with that.
And that's the thing. I mean, you know, and speaking on that note, I mean, that's the same thing it was with music. You know what I mean? Like back in the day, like music, you know, and I don't want to say back in the day, you know what I mean? But it's like, you know what I mean? Like it is back in the day now. It was like, you know, we didn't have, you know, music was a lot much more like appreciated, I feel. It was more like of a tangible thing. You know, even buying a CD was like a thing. You know, you go to Best Buy and buy a CD. Like there was sections and sections of CDs, you know? And, you know, there was a lot of thought put into developing artists with, you know, record sleeves and the inside artwork and the actual print that was on the CDs. Like everything told a story. You know what I mean? Like everything was very much a solid, solidified idea, you know, and it was very cool to experience that because you'd get a glimpse inside of like what the artists were thinking when they put this album out. You know what I mean? So like, you know, we talk about people taking risks in the 90s that we just talked about. I mean, you look at a band like Rage Against the Machine, which is like my all-time favorite band of all time. To this day, people ask me, who's your favorite MC? And I'm like, oh, Zach De La Rocha. And they're like, what? Yeah. You know what I mean? And they're like, what? Never even thought of that. I'm like, yeah, dude, he's my favorite MC. His delivery, the way that, his cadence, everything about his rhymes and flow, I fucked with heavy. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
they were taking risks of fucking rock metal, like a metal band mixed with hip hop. Like, who the fuck would have thought that would have worked so well? You know what I mean?
That's true. Yeah. And then what they're like, I want to say singing, but they're talking about like
Yeah.
another message. That
Yeah.
just that kind of even just
Bro.
makes it like, oh, like what the
Bro,
fuck,
I
like, dude.
have no idea how this, like, today, how that band was able to become the magnitude that they were with the shit they were talking about, man. I think,
I know.
it was like, it's just insane. You know what I mean? And I honestly believe a lot of their messages got overlooked because they just, like, you know what I mean? But, like, I was super into Rage, and, like, everything that they would, like, all the information they were putting out, like, I was really, like, I remember going to the library and, like, using my library card to, like, go online. Because
I use the internet.
I use the internet, because I didn't have a computer.
I've done that. I was there. I was doing the same thing.
You know what I mean? You go to check out a book. You check out some documentaries. Maybe check out a VHS tape. You know what I mean? A couple CDs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, dude, that's crazy. The library was the plug for all that too,
bro. The library was knowledge, baby. You know what I mean?
And, in all forms of knowledge. It's not just like reading books. No, like I remember that was my my hub, for like, but it's funny how you said internet, because I remember one time I didn't have internet at home, and that was the spot to go, if was it for homework or whatever it was, so
yeah, exactly. So that's just, that's part of, the hustle, and that's part of, like, that's what makes us, man. All those little bits and stories like that we all can, like, connect on and share. Like right now, us sharing that story together, we're like, you did that too? Shit, I did that too. You know what I mean? Like, I think that's what's so cool about, like, the human, just humans in general, man. We're all connected, man. We're all here on this planet at the same time together, in this moment in time. You know what I mean? And I think that's something that's truly valuable, man.
Yeah, that's true. That's fucking tight. I like that, man. You just took me back. Damn, I love it. And okay, and then getting into punk, Rage Against the Machine. When did the journey or the rabbit hole into the electronic, music, or that side of the genre, or your spectrum, or your palette,
So for electronic music, I had an uncle that had a book of CDs at one point, and he gave me. I was digging through his CDs, and he was like, "Here, bro, check this out." And I remember it was a DJ Irene CD. It was like that. It was like it was called like Hard. I don't want to fuck the name up of the CD, but it was super sick. You know what I mean? It was like, and at that point, I had never heard like 4 on the floor kick drums. Besides like disco. You know what I mean? Like, obviously that kind of stuff. But when I heard electronic music for the first time, I believe it was definitely DJ Irene. So I credit that as like a big moment when I fell in love with house music. And from there, it took me a while to kind of like realize what it was I was listening to. I really didn't know what it was. I just knew the CD was hot. You know what I mean? I would just bump it. It was like one of those, remember those mix CDs? They were like continuous play, but there was tracks, like you could select the track.
Oh yeah, of course.
So that's how that CD was. And I remember like, oh man, number 2, track 2. It was all like that hard style, like 140 tempo, 150 tempo, and I was just like, damn. And then that CD went missing somewhere. I never found it again. And like we were just talking about, music was less tangible back then. So once that CD went missing, I didn't have the internet to like go find more house music. I had no idea. I mean, I wasn't at the age of like going to like record stores yet, so I really had no idea where to find it. And then fast forward, many years after I've done the punk rock thing, from the punk rock thing, I ended up getting into engineering, because we were recording all of our punk band demos, and the word on the street got around, and our demos sounded good, and everybody liked them, and people, we had friends that were like, "Hey man, like how do we want to record a demo? Like, can you help us out?" We started helping out some friends record some demos, And that's, my progression of engineering went on from there. So always around music technology, I guess we could say.
Yeah.
From there, just continued that journey. I actually landed a job working at, while I was in the punk bands, I was working at a Subway. And while I was at Subway, I was like, man, I need to get out of here. I want to try something new. And I wanted a new job. I was tired of working at Subway. It wasn't a bad job, but I was just kind of over it. And my mom persuaded me, and she was like, hey, why don't you go apply at a music store? Like, you're into music, like you're always playing music. I was constantly getting yelled at for playing the drums in my garage. And, I was always like, turn it down. And I'd hear them banging on the door, and I'd just pretend like I couldn't hear them just so I could play like for an extra 2 minutes. Like I just see, I could see the door moving because they're banging on it. Obviously they're
looking at him the good at the same time.
Yeah. Like I could see them, like, as long as that door doesn't open, I got like 2 more minutes. So, you know what I mean? So, and then she, also my mom was, she was taking me to Sam Ash, obviously before I was driving, she was taking me to Sam Ash Music I'd go in there and just, play all the instruments that we couldn't afford at the time. I'd go in there and play the drums, and I'd play bass and guitar. And, I found that music stores growing up were kind of like my playground. And it was really where I learned a lot about music, just everything. I was reading tab books, and I was reading about rhythm, and I was reading about African rhythms. And I was just, I was like we just said, it became my new library. You know what I mean? Like we were just like we were, like we were just talking about. It became like I got my knowledge from there. I would talk to some of the guys who worked there. I would, read the little signs that were like next to things, like, oh, 20 amps. How many watts is this speaker, and how many this, and ohms? What's ohms? And I've always been a curious cat that's like hungry for knowledge. So I kind of always like read stuff, and like I'd collect those catalogs, and read about guitars and basses and, and equipment that I couldn't afford, but I would like go in there and like read it and like be like, man, one day, like, dang, look at this recorder. This thing does 64-bit and, 48K, and man, this thing would be sick. You know what I mean? And like, just from there, my mom was like, man, you should just try to apply here. And I was like, really? And she's like, yeah, you should apply. Like, you get the job, you fucking be working here. You're here all the time anyway. And I'd be like, man, that'd be sick. So she convinced me. I went down there and I applied. And from that point, like, I didn't know shit. So I had to go in there like I knew what I was doing. I was nervous. I had to go right away. It was one of those situations, man, which, is weird. Like when you go into a job place and you're like, yo, are you guys hiring? And they were like, yeah, the manager's in the office right now. You want to go talk to him? Like, fuck. You know what I mean? Like I was like,
you're like, God damn it.
No, I was like, man, I'm going to get an application and I'm going to fill it out, and then I'm going to wait and I'll figure it out later and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, oh, the manager's in there right now. And I was like, oh shit. All right. So then I went and talked to the manager. Luckily, I was like dressed up. I had my button-up shirt on. Thought I was like, oh, like, yeah, I got to look professional.
Yeah.
So I went in there and I talked to the manager. And he's like, all right, so tell me what you do. So right away, I was like, man, I'm playing a punk band. I record bands and blah, blah. I was just super excited, man, to talk to him just about everything. Because at this point in time, like, I was just so proud of everything that I had already accomplished. I was like, man, I'm playing in a band and we got a following, and we're recording bands, man, and, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, all right, cool. Well, what department do you want to work in? And I was like, drums, man. I want to work in drums. And he's like, all right. So I went out and talked to the drum manager, and we walked around the store for a bit. And he was like, hey, man, tell me about this drum kit. And I'd be like, oh, man, that's like a Tama Imperial Star right there, man. That's what that is. He's like, oh, okay, what kind of wood is it made out of? And I was like, that one right there, that's birch, and he's like, okay, what about this one? And I was like, oh man, that's a DW. That's a drum workshop with drum workshop hardware. And you got some zilch and cymbals on there, and I was just naming shit off, bro, that I was reading from these catalogs that I had been collecting. You know what I mean? Like that was my studying, so I was now, and he was like, cool. And then like, he went in and I guess talked to the manager, was like, yo, this, this kid could use some work, but he's got soul, man. He's a good cat.
He has a good foundation.
Yeah, it's like he's got soul, man. Like he just needs to learn a little bit more, but he's got, they obviously they liked something about me. And the manager was just like, all right, man, can you start tomorrow? And I was like, oh shit, so I came out of Sam Ash, working as an employee, basically working the next day. And I filled out all my paperwork the next day and I was an employee, man. And it was just it's such a game-changing experience, is to work for like a music store. Being surrounded by something that you love really just helped the creative process, man. I feel like it was really, it became like the library then became like a college. You know what I mean? Like it transitioned from like a library where I'd go to study to now I'm working there, which hands-on. Is, hands-on and like talking with people and learning things from everyone. I mean, any interaction you have with anybody ever is always a learning experience. So I do believe I learned a lot there, man. And from drums, I ended up getting transferred to Pro Audio. And in Pro Audio, I got an opportunity to go to a lot of different tutorials and, lessons. And, I went to NAMM for the first time. And, NAMM is like one of the Western's, largest musical instrument gathering. And like, I'd never been to it. It was at the Anaheim Convention Center. It happens every year. It was just incredible, man. And I was just so stoked to be in this position at like 17 years old. You know what I mean? I was like, whoa, you know what I mean? I had money coming in from doing stuff that I loved. And I think that that's kind of, the most valuable thing in life, I believe.
Yeah, you had money, knowledge, hands-on, like,
Yeah. Yeah. And so from there, I was like, man, I used to record all these bands. Like, what else can I do? So then I was like looking for studios. I met some cats and I started interning at several different studios. At one point, I think I was engineering. I was working my full-time job. I was playing in my band and I was interning at two separate studios that had very similar hours, and neither one of the studios knew that I was interning at another studio, because at the time that was like frowned upon, like, I don't know, maybe it was just like a rivalry thing, but like studios are like, oh yeah, we don't do it like they do it, or we don't do it like they do it. You know what I mean? And it was like, whatever, yeah. I'm just trying to learn. You know what I mean? So yeah, they would give me tasks like, go do this, go run some coffee, go do this, go do that. And every time I would just finish whatever task I had to do to just get more time in the control room. That's what I wanted. I knew that that's where I wanted to be, is I wanted to be that producer,
Yeah, and you were doing all the intern work, so to get, your hands on the actual like equipment and stuff that you're actually trying to get out of, but like I guess how, the average story about an internship and stuff, you're kind of doing a lot of other stuff that are not maybe pertain to what you're in the environment, you're in the setting, so you have your foot in there. Now it's just time to hustle your way into the actual work that you're actually trying to do and stuff. So
correct.
Damn, that's respect. Nice.
So that all that background story gets me to this next part, which is where kind of my real love for electronic music, came together. Is, working at Sam Ash, I was learning, MIDI, and I was learning DAWs and, digital audio workstations and syncing. And, I started really exploring, we did a training on Ableton, like, I think it was like Ableton 6 or 5 or something, it was a while ago, bro. It was like, and I remember like, the people that I was working with, they were obviously older cats, and I was 17 years old. And these cats were like, man, this is the future. Like, this is going to be the next thing. Like, everybody's going to be using this shit. Like, Pro Tools is not going to be a thing anymore. And I was like, fuck no, bro. DigiDesign Pro Tools, that shit ain't going nowhere. It's always going to be DigiDesign, because DigiDesign like had a coin on the market, which is now Avid. And that's what I started with. I was learning Pro Tools because that's what all the big studios were using, was Pro Tools, So I wasn't even using a Ableton or Logic or any of that sort of thing. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Where was I going with that?
No, you were saying that with the background story of
Oh,
working in
that's
the
right.
recording
That's right.
studio, and how
Yes.
you got into electronic, your love
Yes.
for electronic music. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Correct. Thank you. So my love for electronic music came, and then I was interning in studios, recording music. After recording, some bands would come in and use like fat synths, and I remember seeing my first Moog in the studio and like hearing people play it, and I was like, "Damn!" Like, so that's where those sounds come from.
oh,
You
I
know what
get
I
you saying.
mean?
Yeah,
You know what I mean? Like, I would like bands would come in to record, and I would just be blown away at some. Some people were using like ARPs on keyboards, and like I seen like Korg M3s, and people were using like Roland Phantom series keyboards, and I was like, damn, like some of those sounds like that. It started all clicking for me because before that I was very raw instrument rock band, you know, like drums, guitar, bass, vocals, done. You know what I
that's
mean?
it.
And then
Yeah.
once I started hearing some of these electronic sounds, I was like, man, I want to learn more about that. So I started again doing some research, playing around with keyboards, messing around with synthesizers, exploring MIDI controllers, um, drum machines, of course. And I remember going to a training at Roland's facility. I think it's here in like
Commerce City or something like that.
Commerce, somewhere. It's very
Yeah.
close. It was like an hour away from Torrance, but like So I went to Roland's facility, and I just remember being surrounded by like there was a whole room of like 808s, like original 808s, original 909s, like original Junos. Like now looking back, I can say that that's what these things were. At the time, I didn't know what they were. And I remember like putting it together in my head, like 808. Is that what? Because at the time, like hardcore bands were big, so we were recording a lot of like hardcore bands, and a lot of those hardcore bands like would use those big like 808 drops like for a break, and it would be like boom, and then like it would be like dun 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 dun, you know what I mean? And everybody'd be like, "Oh yeah, put an 808 here," and I was hearing that term 808 thrown around a lot of
That's it.
times, and then I was like, "Wait, a Roland 808," and then I put it together that's why they're called 808s is because at the time that drum machine, you could tweak those sounds and make them just super fat, like trunk rattlers. You know what I mean? So learning drum machines, learning all that, interning at studios, just learning knowledge. My love for electronics were growing. I mean, my love for engineering was growing. Again, this time I'm like still 17, going on 18, very young still. And I got a call one day. I was at DMV, and I was trying to renew my license because I guess on my 18th birthday it was going to expire. I didn't have a driver's license. I had an ID, and I was there. I think I was there applying to get my driver's license. Actually, I think that's what I was there for. And I get a phone call on like unknown number, and I have my Metro PCS phone, and I'm like, okay, like flip it open, and I'm like, hello, and it's one of the bands that had been recording at these studios that I was interning at, and he was like, hey man, I got your number from one of the engineers here, and we'd like to know if like you were interested on going on tour. And I was like, I am interested in going on tour. Yes, let me check my schedule, and I will get back to you. And he's like, all right, well, let us know, keep us posted. So I guess they had liked, I heard from the engineer that gave him my number that they were asking about me, and they liked my work ethic, that I was just always on it. And, they never had to ask me for shit. Like it was just always done, and from there they picked me up, and, obviously I was taking care of my mom at the time, which is the reason I had a job in the first place, is just to, help pay the bills type shit. And I asked her about it, and I was like, hey, this is an opportunity. Like, what do you think? Like, I'm going to have to travel and be gone for a while. And, she was like, hey, if this, this is something you want to do it. I mean, if you're going to get paid to travel and see the world, like, do it. It's something you want to do. So she was always really big in supporting me on that, in that way. So
Yeah, that's so cool to hear.
yeah, man. So from there I started traveling and touring, but before I went on that tour, um, it's somewhere along the lines I had gone to EDC, right? And when I went to EDC here in LA, It was the last EDC in LA. Somewhere, this store is getting all jumbled around, but this is where the love for electronic music really came from,
Yeah.
Was going to EDC and like seeing that style of music on such a large scale, you know. Really, that's where my love for electronic music came from. I seen it all the pieces that I had been searching for all came together in one place,
At a rave.
At a rave. Yeah, man. Yeah.
No, but that's tight though. Like, cause I think EDC 2010 was the one that I wanted to go to, but didn't happen. I'm like, oh, I'll go next year for sure. And nope. Well, I guess I could have gone to the Las Vegas one, but
It's so much different. Yeah, I went to the last one in LA, and then I went to the first one in Vegas, and it was just a lot different. It was cool, but it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same energy, It was a completely different vibe. And plus, like, I liked the day thing. LA was like you could see everybody's faces. People weren't completely, people weren't fucked up right when they got there. Like people showed up and you could see everybody like excited and like, yeah, and it was cool. Like hang out with people and just see all these different aspects and avenues of life come together in one place, man. I think that was the beauty. That's what really drew me in more to electronic music is when you see the culture behind it. It's like, it's undeniable and it's a place for everyone and there's no discrimination. And that's something I really value about it.
Big time. That's what I even sometimes describe raving or these warehouse underground gatherings. They sometimes disrupt, a social norm, this fine line that people like to follow, like meaning like, you're this part of this culture, so you're with this culture, you're with this one. We can't all be at the same place, but no, this disrespect, disrupts. My bad.
Yeah.
Just the whole like conforming to these social norms and shit. So I love it. It's a pretty cool message that from the beginning it was underground resistance, the whole like peace, love, unity, respect,
Yeah.
with Breaking Bones, from New York and all that stuff. But yeah. That's tight. That's fucking sick to hear.
Yeah. And so once I heard electronic music on that scale, when I would go on these tours, right, I would just lay in my bunk and listen to electronic music. I believe at the time I was listening to like Armin van Buuren, State of Trance. It's like, again, music was still hard to come by at this time. So it was like what I had on like my iPod, you know what I mean? And so I would just lay there in my bunk, because when we started, we were in the van and trailer. I was 17. I still had to like hide from the bouncers when they'd come and try to card everyone for being 21 and over. I had to go get lost in the, go pretend like I was in the trailer getting more guitars or doing something so that way I wouldn't get carded, I knew I couldn't get ID'd because if I did, because the band that I was working with had no idea how old I was. They'd never asked, So, they thought I was a lot older than I was. Meanwhile, I'm over here 17, 18, traveling and being this, having this huge load of responsibility, being this front of house engineer, you know what I mean? And, I played the part and I did my best and I learned a lot on the road. And I felt that was something that was always important to me is if you're given a task, don't turn the task down, just learn it and learn it right and come correct every time. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And then you being an audio engineer, like a question just before you continue the story, like being an audio engineer on tour, like you're making sure their levels and mics, amp, guitar, everything, it's like appropriately. So you basically are mixing live in a sense.
Yeah. So and that's funny that you say that. I'm glad that you said that because it reminds me of, I didn't have any formal training, like I didn't have any formal audio engineering training. So as an engineer, I would go in and just like, work these shows and, I would mix the band like I was mixing records before I knew what mixing records was. I would like get the guitar and I would like, blend it in with EQ. And then like I knew because like the whole point of bands having their engineers is because they know what the record sounds like. So you try to get the band to sound as close to the record as possible. you know. So when the guitar player was doing a solo, I would like turn down the bass from the bass guitar, you know, or add a little bit more bass, like when, you know, push them both up. So that way when the guitar is soloing, the bass is riding it with the guitar too. You don't want the guitar fully out front because then it just sounds like it's naked. But if you bring everything else down and you boost the bass and the guitar, now you can give people that feeling. You know what I mean? So it was a lot of tricks like that I learned, and people would always, I would get this a lot. Like people would be like, man, you mix, you know, your style of mixing is definitely a thing. You know what I mean? And like I would get into it, you know, I would like, you know, dance around and just be stoked on the music like while I was mixing, because like to me it was like I said, I looked at it like mixing records and blending sounds, and like, you know, I was basically giving people an audible journey, you know, through music, you know, and that was something I always really appreciated about being an engineer, is like you control what people are hearing. And I think that that's something that's so important. And especially with like audio, it's like in sound, it's like, it's so subjective, you know, like it's, you know, one person, man, the bass is too loud, man, the kick drum's too loud, or man, the guitar, it's like, so to be able to please people with an audible show is just like a very rewarding thing, you know, and that's what I think fell in like love with mixing, you know.
True, and then since it's a collective gathering, you're also gonna be basically, you know, you're how you said you're pleasing all that group as well too, in a sense. And you said
Exactly.
because some people are like, no, it doesn't sound too loud to me. It sounds okay, you know.
Exactly.
And then to kind of get a consensus in a positive way, that's dope. That's the cool thing. So I remember I've seen like audio engineers for a band, and I'm just like, and I'm looking back when they're doing like sound check or just kind of setting up before. I'm looking back and forth to the audio engineer, to the band members, audio engineer to the back member, just to kind of see what they're doing. I'm like, oh shit, this is going on right now before the actual show. So that's much respect to like I'm hearing too.
And one thing I want to, you know, and one thing I just, as an audio engineer, and I just want to like point out, like, man, these people are working their asses off, like engineers, staging people, anybody that works at a venue. I mean, just show respect to everyone, man. You know what I mean? Like, smile, talk to everybody nice, man. You know, that's something that always would, you know, just make our days. Like, you know, when anybody would like, because I've worked at clubs too, you know, and, you know, when the bands come in there and they treat you right, it's like, it's such, everybody has, and this probably goes to many aspects of life, but like if you're just nice to people, bro, and you treat everybody nice, like everybody's gonna have a way better show, and like everybody's gonna sound better, everything's gonna feel better. You know what I mean? Because I've seen bands that like, you know, they'll come in and just, you know, blah blah blah. It's like, man, it's a lot of work, bro. And that's one thing I always like, glad that I came from where I come from, because I know now what it takes to show up to a club and just play. And that audio engineer has been there probably since 12 p.m. and it's now fucking 2 a.m. and you're playing a set. You know what I mean? Like just any thank yous or thank you, bro, I appreciate you. Any of that kind of shit, man, just always helps out, you know? So just, you know, and that goes to anybody in the service industry, any of that kind of stuff, man. You know, it's very, it's very much you know, just give love, man. That's all I'm saying. You know, just give love.
That's true. I like that. And that's too because, you know, like when a DJ plays at a club or a club venue style, you know, you are working with the sound guy, which is the audio engineer for that night. In a sense, it is a teamwork, you know,
it is,
like how they're have their audio settings or whatnot to what you're plugging into, and both coming to some type of consensus and respecting each other's like position and what's going to happen that night. That's so it's damn, just reminiscing back into like a club aspect.
Yeah, man, it's important, man. You know, it's important, and a lot of bands, like, you know, when I was working at a club, working with all different bands every night. That's what, you know, a lot of cool bands. They'd be like, "Oh man, thank you so much for tonight, bro. You're really like, you know, you're our sixth member tonight, bro. We really appreciate you." You know, because like the engineer, like you only sound as good as like they're gonna let you sound. You know, if you're the best band in the world and your fucking microphones are turned off, like nobody's gonna hear you. So
yeah.
So
yeah, that's tight. And and back to your touring days, like, what was happening over there?
So I was touring, man, and like I said, I was falling in love with electronic music. Like I said, we had upgraded from the van and trailer to now we're in a tour bus, which at this point I'm probably like 19, 20 now. I was an engineer, a nationally touring engineer for some time. And like I said, now I'm 19, 20, listening to this electronic music. Started trying to get back into Ableton. I knew I wanted to do it. So I had bought some Ableton tutorial videos, and I didn't have Ableton. I just had these videos of like tutorials. So I'd wake up extra early while the band was still asleep, and like I would go in the front and like try to watch these videos and learn things and take notes and really try to get knowledge out of this video that I really had no idea what he was talking about. So from there, I was like, all right, I'm going to make music like I'm listening to on my headphones, you know? And then at this point, the band was doing pretty good. We started like, you know, having bus parties. And for those who don't know, a bus party is basically, as long as if you're on tour and your bus doesn't have to go to the next city that like be there at 7 or any kind of weird time, the bus literally just parks, stays at the venue overnight because it's the best place to stay. Everybody sleeps on the bus. You just stay in the bus, you know?
Yeah.
And we'd have these bus parties and I'd grab my iPod and, you know, they'd be like, hey, play some music, bro. And like, you know, because obviously the band guys knew that I was into electronic music. So I'd play some music for all these people that we just left a reggae concert, and they'd come onto the tour bus, and I'd be playing like at the time it was like Diplo edits, you know, from when Mad Decent edits and Munchie and Moombahton stuff, and and I was playing some of that mixed with like some dubstep, and I was just playing whatever I could play to like get people hype, you know what I mean? And people were like blown away. I mean, you're talking about in the middle of the United States, Midwest, and you're playing like Moombahton for people who may not have ever heard it again. You know what I mean? And I think that was, I still get messages to this day, actually, from some of those people that they'll text me and like, I know what they're talking about. They'll text me, tra, 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 you know what I mean? And like, it's like, that's what I used to say when I was playing, like, you know what I mean? Like the whole bus would be jumping off and be cracking. I'd be screaming like, tra, tra, like the band, like it was just good times, man. And
dude,
so from that moment on, like I knew that's something I wanted to do, was play records for people, show people a good time, man. And just, share music that I truly love, with people that would also truly love it. You know what I mean?
I love that, man. That's fucking tight. And when did you start incorporating the actual like DJ setup? Was it turntables when you first started, or?
So when I first started, it was on turntables. I started with vinyl. I had been collecting vinyl at this point for a long time. My mom had vinyl. I inherited some of her vinyl. My pops had vinyl. My uncle had vinyl. So I have a pretty extensive vinyl collection right now. But yeah, I started on turntables, so I understood. But when I had that vinyl, when I was collecting, low key, I had one of those giant, console wood stereo systems. You know what I'm talking about? Where like they're turntables inside of this giant wood shelf that's like built in.
Oh, yeah.
So like that's how I would listen to records. I'm not like, I didn't have like a 1200 when I was like, 8 years old. So, Double A, which Double A is a key member to this puzzle here, and we'll talk more about him very soon. And so he was an engineer at one of the studios that I was working at, and we cut a record together for my band, my punk band at the time, and it was the first record that we basically produced together. And when I say produce, I mean like, hey, run that guitar solo again, or those drums could be better. Like, let's do that one more time. Or, hey, that vocal take was cool, but let's try it one more time with feeling, or can you say it softer? So we really produced the record. And the record came out amazing. And so we became homies. Long story short, he was a DJ. I was playing drums. It was right when the whole Travis Barker DJ AM thing kicked off. So I was like, bro, drop some records and I'll play some drums over it, And we did that for a while, and we went big. We were like, oh, bro, let's get some lights, and let's get this, and let's get that. And oh man, and then right here at the drop, I can flip this switch and turn off all the lights, and then when it drops again, I can flip the switch again, and all the lights will come on. Like, we'll do a blackout, and we had all this shit like prepared. You know what I mean? Because I had been working with these bands, so like I knew like all these like go big or go home type shit. You know what I mean? Like, you gotta bring it. You know what I mean? So we got booked for a show in Beverly Hills, and we were like some Beverly Hills like mansion party. We knew a friend of a friend of a friend that was like, hey, these guys are DJs, like have them come play. And it was like, cool.
Yeah.
So we were like, all right, bro, this is our chance. We thought we were going to unleash this project to the world. And we were like, oh, bro, maybe there's record people there and they're going to see us play. And, it was just funny, man. That's our minds were just always, thinking big, So we loaded all this stuff into my truck. We took it all to this mansion in Beverly Hills, and we're loading all this shit in, and everybody's looking at us like, who the fuck are these guys? And why are they bringing all this fucking equipment into my mansion? like
why? In turntables, right?
Yeah, turntable with Serato and a laptop, and we had our own DJ table that fucking lit up, and
the lights.
And the lights, bro, and fog machine. And they were like, yo, like, you could just, nobody said anything, but you could just read the tone off these people's faces. Like, what the fuck are you guys going to do? Yeah. And then, so we sat up and we were like, all right, dude, like, let's do it. Fuck it. Let's run this shit. You know what I mean? And we were like all ready, and we thought, it was going to be this big thing. And, ended up being like the party wasn't really about that. It wasn't that kind of a party. It was like everybody was hanging out inside and like eating. We thought.
Oh wow! Oh, so it was pretty chill.
It was like a chill. It was like a chill party. Like but like I thought,
like at a party at a mansion, though.
Exactly. So, but in our heads, we thought mansion party. Man, there's gonna be models there, bro. There's gonna be record executives there, man. Like, we need to bring this shit, boy. You know what I mean? Like, let's do this. You know what I mean? So.
Oh my god.
Yeah, so it's a long story short, that shit didn't work out the way we wanted to. I mean, we still played and had fun, but
did you play the drums too?
I did. Yeah, I played the drums for a few songs. Honestly, for a few songs. And then it was like, bro, this is too much. It's too fucking loud. No, nobody's like, we just look ridiculous. So like, well, fuck it, I'll drop some records. You know what I mean? And like, that's when basically I kind of got into DJing, because I was like, oh fuck, I can drop some records too. Like, we can play records together, So we were playing some records. We brought a crate of vinyl too, because that's what we'd play Serato and switch over and play vinyl too.
Oh, cool.
So, and I already had a bunch of vinyl because I was collecting it, and then so he was like, man, he started teaching me some DJ stuff, man. And at the time, he was studying with Mr. Chalk of the world famous Beat Junkies. And so he was studying with Mr. Chalk. So as he was studying with Chalk, he would come over and teach me things that he was learning at these lessons. So, I was given like 2 records, and I had to beat match them and mix them in and out like multiple times. And that's how I learned, man, on fucking 1200 MK2s with a 2-channel Newmark mixer and vinyl,
Dude, that actually sounds pretty dope. I would have loved that. Like, and that's cool that you have that homie that taught you, but he was getting lessons from like, a legend, somebody who's like fucking dope, just in the whole turntablism aspect, that technical, skills and everything. And then he was, showing you what he was learning. So that's clean. I know somebody too who also was doing, I'm assuming he did Scratch LA.
Oh yeah, Scratch Academy. Yep, that's what it was. Scratch Academy. Yeah. So that's kind of how I got. Yeah, that's kind of how I got my start in DJing, was because of a show that didn't work out that we were trying to do.
But it worked out.
You see? So it's funny how like life will work that way sometimes. You always got to be open for the possibilities. Like nothing's a fail, everything's a learning opportunity. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
But Double A, you did mention he is an important key person. I've gotten the chance to talk to him. I believe I'm pretty sure it was maybe like a Clinic Wednesdays or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I got to learn that he was from Michigan. So, and So it was pretty tight because I'm just like, oh shit, fucking Michigan, like Detroit, Michigan. But he's like, well, not
Yeah.
Detroit, but
Yeah.
Michigan. And then, but you can tell that he was also like you, like super into music. Like you guys were dedicating, like your life, your music revolved your life in your life, like completely.
Yeah.
And but you and him had this collaborative project duo called Press.
Yes, we did. Yeah. So Press was a collaboration between myself and Double A, and that was a group that was formed because we were both DJing together, and we both, had a big love for like house music. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
this was a time when like house music was kind of like a bad word, like in the DJ world. Like not a lot of people were playing house music when like we wanted to play house music. And when I say house
Mm.
music, I don't mean like, Swedish House Mafia house music. I mean, because that's what was hot at the time, which was cool. Not
That's funny. Swedish House Mafia, like
Yeah,
the house, but
not in
yeah,
a bad way or anything, but we were falling in love with like Detroit, house music, like, Kyle Hall, and like we were listening to like Julio Bashmore and Eats Everything and Bristol Bass, and that's two different worlds, but like that's kind of what we
yeah,
were enjoying at the time. A lot of like, then we were getting into like the Masters at Work, you know what I mean? Like that was the shit that we wanted to play out, and again, this was like before. I mean, I know there was a lot of cats before us doing it. I know that there's definitely a home for everything that we're talking about. There was definitely a home for it in LA. Like I know, there was the deep parties, and I've discovered all this way later. But at the time, we didn't know there was a scene for this shit. We just wanted to
yeah.
play house music, so we were going to like hip hop clubs and being like, "Hey, we want a DJ here. We play house music," and they were like, "Yeah, no," you know what I mean? And then like,
Yeah.
so we ended up playing a couple shows together, and like, we found some spots to play house music at, and it ended up being cool. And from there, we were like, man, we should start producing. He taught me Double A. I just want to give him a shout out and massive respect, because he taught me a lot of stuff about music that like I didn't necessarily know, just because the way he listened to music was a lot different than me. He would hear things that I didn't, and he would, we would talk about it, and we'd have like these in-depth conversations about, like, for instance, like, Can You Feel It? Like, I remember we had like so many conversations about that track, which is funny. I just wanted to put this in the story, but like, Can you feel it? Boom, boom, you know what I mean? Like, we would talk about that and be like, oh man, that's a Juno, and listen to that Juno, and like listen to the drum machine and the way it's programmed, and this and that, and we would talk about it. And if you listen to that track, it's like, in the beginning there was Jack, it does the whole, it says the whole line. And at the very end of that, if you go back and listen, it sounds like he says, and this is Press, you know what I mean? And that's kind of where we got our name from, was from that.
Mm.
If you go back and listen to it, you'll hear what I'm talking about. It sounds like he says, and this is Press at the end of that closing. So we ended up choosing the name Press, for our production name, and due to that song. And then we went with the acronym was PRES, which was Positive Reoccurring Energy Statement. And that was what we were doing with our music, is we were just trying to spread positivity and use positivity to just through music to get it out there, man. That's what we were about.
Yes, man. I remember you sent me a couple of tracks, when you guys had stuff, and at that time I was going as Mellow Attire, and I was, really focused on just more on the house side, the
Mm-hmm.
housey side, even tech house. And I did record a couple mixes that honestly they're probably still up on.
Yeah.
Look it up, everybody's a little plug real quick. Mellow Attire, SoundCloud. But yeah, you'll for sure find some of your tracks on there, and you guys really, he has talented for sure, and it's a proper precursor to what's going on with just your solo stuff. But yes, man, Press was amazing.
Thank you.
That's pretty tight. Do
Thank
you
you.
still talk to Double A?
I do. I still talk to Double A lot. He actually is currently going to school for music. He went back to school. I mean, this cat, man, he was a phenomenal producer, a phenomenal engineer, such a talented cat, man. And like, it was one of those things where he just wanted to learn more, so now he wants to try to get his master's in music, and he wants to know theory and just to dive more into it. And I've always encouraged him to do it, and he encourages me to do what I do, and we just always push each other, man. So it's like I'm still doing my thing, and he's still doing his thing. I'm putting out records, he's studying books. But our music relationship is still there because we are eventually going to write songs together and get back on. It's not like it's never like been like a oh, we're done working together. It's just like, I got to do this, you continue to do this, and then we'll meet back up in the middle and we'll be that much more better,
Yeah, and it's not like you guys can't release any more press stuff.
Yeah.
Like that's a project that's always going to be there. You said it's always there.
Yeah.
It will always be there. So whenever you guys like, hey, let's go do some, let's record together.
I look at press almost like an NERD or like a Neptunes. You know what I mean? Like we're both on our own grind, but then when we get back together, it's like this is a thing. Like, ooh, damn, that's that new NERD. Woo, you know what I mean? Like, like it's still there. You know what I mean? So that's the way I like to look at it. Is everybody's doing their thing, man. And actually, sometimes I go back and listen to some of that old press stuff. I pulled out one of my hard drives the other day, and I was like listening to some of our old shit, even stuff that wasn't even released. And I was like, damn, man, like we were kind of ahead of our times. I mean, listening to that shit now, and then like I listen to that, and then some of the like minimal shit that I really am heavily into right now. And I'm like, damn, like this stuff was so. The stuff we were making was good. It just wasn't what we were trying to make. You know what I mean? Like, so I think that's always a funny thing. It's like, it's like, it was dope, but like we were trying to make this, but it ended up sounding like this. And now that I'm listening to this, it fits more in with this. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's just funny how it works that way,
Damn.
So
okay, I feel
I guess the lesson of that story is never dump your old hard drives and never delete sessions. They might be valuable in the future.
Yeah, I feel you on that. There's some stuff that you'll like probably worked on like maybe months ago. You open it up and you're like, holy shit, like what the fuck, I can add this or something like, and just kind of reinforce and
I'll kind of use that to tie into where I'm at now, with my writing process now and how I've changed over the years. I recently had an opportunity to answer some questions for 6 a.m. group. I was
hey, shout out.
Yeah, big shout out 6 a.m. group. And I was asked some questions about the record I had coming out, Culture obviously was
LP.
it was Culture LP was an album that I decided to recently drop on Tech Avenue Records. And it's been one of the best projects that for myself, both I'm proud of it, both in its success of the record, but also what I did for the record and just my energy that I put into it, but also just I went everywhere with it. I did exactly what I wanted to do with the record. I have a tech house track on there. There's a house music track on there. There's a minimal deep track. There's a hip hop track. You know what I mean? Like I really just did everything I wanted to do with this LP. And I really wanted it to be my like, what does Shaun Cruda sound like? Go listen to the Culture LP. That's what I sound like. All of that. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like these are my influences, and I had an amazing opportunity to work with so many incredible artists on this record that were super happy to work with me on this record. I asked a few, everybody I asked to work on it basically were like, hell yeah, let's do it. I backed the idea. You know what I mean? And I also want to give a shout out to Tech Avenue Records for just backing my idea the whole time. To put out an LP, it takes a lot of work from the label to do so. And also it's like we live in this world right now of like a lot of EPs, and to put out To put out a whole album. I mean, that's a lot of music to drop at one time. And, which is a whole nother story, that's a whole nother conversation, but I wanted to do it to just get it out. I really wanted to just explore, and like, I wanted it to be a solid idea. Like we talked about at the beginning of this interview, I really wanted it to be a solid idea with artwork, which was a concept that everything fit, and they were like, man, it sounds dope. Let's do it. And that's so great to hear as an artist, to have the label support you in that way. So big shout out to Tech Avenue Records. And while we're on that, I wanted to shout out MadHouse DJs. Julian Anthony, D Zeladone were on this record. We collaborated on that. We had Michael Pham from the 900 block, the world famous 900 block, and Monarchy, man. Monarchy was on this record, and he did the remix for a track on there, Rules in the Club. Phenomenal. Everybody loves that remix. He killed it with that one. And Travarsi. I want to just give a massive shout out to Travarsi as well. Working with her has definitely opened my eyes to a lot of things. I consider her like a sister, and she's a mentor, and she's just a really super talented artist. And I just want to give her credit, man. She's, we work together with, she's a founding member of SoCal Synth Society. And, she's a co-founder. And what that does is, what SoCal Synth Society is, it's a space for people to gather, obviously pre-pandemic. We create space for people to come together, ask questions, share knowledge, talk about synths and setups and hybrids and, modular, and we do DIY builds, and we learn how to solder, and, it's a safe place for everybody to come together, man, and just talk all things synthesizers and music, and, and just have fun, man. It's a really cool thing. There's a lot of stuff in the works right now with SoCal Synth Society. Be on the lookout for all the good stuff. I just wanted to give a big shout out to both Travarsi and SoCal Synth Society for everything they do for the community, for sure.
Man, I love that. I keep up with SoCal Synths, and shout out to Travarsi. I interviewed her for Beyond Normal Days episode. I'm pretty sure it was episode 7. Check that out, y'all. And this is, I think, was pre-SoCal Synth, but it's pretty cool to check that out as well too. And also, you mentioned D Zeladone, another BND alumni interview. Yep. And mentioning them, and also Julian Anthony, that's MadHouse and stuff as well too. Just like kind of like even like a quick little thing. Everybody knows, you're part of MadHouse, but how did that venture come about for the most part?
So this, I'm going to give
you union. It was a union.
Yeah. So I'm going to give the abridged story behind that. I had gone to a show. I was going to see Martinez Brothers, and at the Whale, they were playing like I don't know if...
Ooh, yeah. I went there. Yeah. I went there. I was there.
Yeah, yeah. So the Whale...
It was a rainy day.
Martinez Brothers played the Whale, right? And this was like... I had been watching that Mix Mag Martinez Brothers video for a minute, because me and Double A were a duo. So we were looking for like inspiration from other duos. Like, how do duos play together? Like, is it like 2 sets of headphones? Is it 1 set of headphones? Is it you stay on that side, I stay on this side? So we were just like looking for duos, and we happened to stumble across the Martinez Brothers, and obviously their music was just absolute fire. So we were like, fuck, dude, they're playing. Let's go to the Whale. So we went to the Whale. And, I was trying to meet some people. So I went to the event page, and I seen Julian Anthony in there, just like, oh, yeah, excited for the show. Can't wait to go, and this and that. And, I seen his page, and like he was playing like Avalon, and like he was making moves. So I was like, man, let me reach out to this cat. And I think I reached out to him, but I don't think he read the message. I don't know how that ended up working out or whatever. But then I seen him at the show. And like I just randomly walked up to him, and I was like, yo, what's up, dude? Are you Julian Anthony? I saw you on the this and that. And he's like, yeah, bro, you know who I am. And that relationship, from that point on, we shared similar interests. Our musical taste was similar. We became friends from there. And Julian was playing a bunch of shows at Avalon at the time, main stage, and so I got to go and see him there a couple times. And one of the times I went to see him there, I met Eddie Portillo, and I saw Eddie there, and like I didn't know who he was, but Julian was on stage, so. But like the music they were playing at the time, to say the least, was not what I was into, I would say. So like I was just kind of waiting for Julian to go on. And I seen some cats standing in the crowd, just like kind of looking like the way I felt, you know, kind of just like, okay, like when's the next? And I was like, are you here with fucking Julian too? And he's like, yeah, bro, Julian Anthony. Oh shit, you know. So then we started hanging out. We went outside to smoke a cigarette, and we were just rapping. And then Julian came out. He's like, oh, y'all met already, blah blah. So yeah. So then then I met Eddie. Then after Julian played, I was like, all right, guys, I'm out of here. Like, I'm leaving Avalon. I'm going to go right down the street. I'm going to Clinic Wednesday, because it was a Wednesday. And Avalon's like right down the street from where Clinic was at. And I was like, I'm going to go to, this is where I want to go. You know, this is my music. This is where I want to go. This is my shit right here, you know? So Eddie's like, yeah, I'm down. Let's go. So then Eddie went with me. And we were both like, yeah, bro, this music. And we kind of clicked musically. And from that moment on, I mean, me and Eddie became really good friends. Again, I consider Eddie like a brother to me as well. And so long story short, I was living with my moms, taking care of my moms. And, you know, unfortunately, my mother went ahead and passed on to the other life. You know, she was dealing with a lot of medical issues my whole life. So that was a really tough thing for me to deal with. Yeah. So I needed... You know, I needed a roommate or whatever the situation had been. He ended up moving in. You know, we talked about it. He ended up moving in, and that really like helped me out a lot, just as far like mentally, you know, just lots of reasons. You know, it wasn't just the rent money and all that kind of thing. You know, it was really like a brotherhood, and we were there for each other, and he really helped me out through a lot of dark times, you know. And so long story short, everything's cool. You know, we're hanging out, and, you know, we were obviously DJing. He was DJing, doing his thing. And, you know, we were producing, and like, you know, we ended up moving out of that spot. We got a new spot, and like that spot became like a headquarters, and like everybody'd come over and produce there. And like, you know, we'd have sessions and hang out, and we'd have parties outside, like not big parties, but like little hangouts, and bring the CDJs out and play. And one day he was like, hey, I'm going to start MadHouse. I'm going to start this thing called MadHouse. And I was like, oh, cool, man. You know, I was like, sounds dope. And he ended up starting it. And, you know, he got some members. And it took me a while. I didn't join right away. I let him do his thing and build his team and do, you know, I didn't want to just join because I was living there. You know, I wanted to kind of, you know, make it feel right, you know? So I was doing my own thing. I just had released a track with Silky, which another one of my good friends. Shout out Silky. And we just signed a track to Union Music, which was my first release. It was a huge release for me. I was super happy. It was my first, you know, proper label Beatport release. And after I did that, I was like, I just, I want to wait. And so long story short, ended up getting, you know, put onto MadHouse, and, you know, we did some events together, and we've traveled together, and it's been a good ride, man. It's been good. Eddie's a smart man, and we've worked with 6 a.m. we've collaborated on some shows, and you know, one of my favorite shows I've played to date was probably Travarsi and I played a hybrid modular set, direct support for Zebzito, and that was probably
I was about to say that Zebzito,
Zebzito. That was probably one of my favorite. That was probably one of my favorite shows to play. And then also, I mean, it's just nice because when we did those kind of shows, like, you know, it's so cool to like hang out with the artist and like, you know, talk to people, and it's been fun, man. It's been really good.
And also showing the artist, you know, that, you know, what's up with LA, you know, like, yes, you know, there's some actual dope, you know, work coming out of LA, and some dope stuff. It's funny just saying work because that's a 6 a.m. and Synthetic Minds. Yeah. It's funny because just right now, like even picturing the word work, I'm picturing you
Ah.
modeling for for 6 a.m. apparel. Am I correct? So
that is correct,
I
sir.
just thought about that right
yeah,
now. I just thought about
yeah,
dude, I just had to work. I
yeah.
just thought that picture. I'm like, oh shit,
So
I know Sean models too.
if you guys seen me in your emails wearing the work shirt, thank you for all your continuous
He sends
support.
you
And
emails.
yeah, I had multiple people like screenshotting their emails, like, bro, how'd you end up in my fucking emails? So
I love
yeah,
it, man. That's tough.
it's been good, man. I think art is art, and having an opportunity to work with such amazing people, I think is something why we all do this. Is the opportunity to work with other like-minded people, as yourself, and
Hmm. Yeah.
just for I
Thank
mean,
you. Thank you.
like this podcast. I mean, giving the work that it takes behind the scenes for you to do this, and continue to do it, and the hours that you spend, and you know what I mean. Like they say, man, it's all about the shots you take off the court. You know what I mean? And I think that that's something that I really want to put out there. You know what I mean? It's all about the shit you do behind the scenes. The shit that isn't glorified, the countless hours you spend, and the times you spend in the studio, and just like, man, and you're like, fuck, I wish I could go to the beach right now. It's hot as fuck, but I got to finish this track. Shit, you
Mm,
know what I mean? And really
mm,
powering through, like when you don't want to and you do it. That's when the shit hits. You know what I mean? Like, so I was mentioning earlier the questions that I was asked by 6 a.m. And one of the questions was like, how do you stay like inspired on the daily to keep? It's like, I mean, it's like working is the inspiration. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you can't just you have to do it when you're not inspired. You know what I mean? That's really what it is.
man, that inspired me. That's crazy right there. I'm even typing this down right now. Working is the inspiration.
Yeah, I mean, you have
Bro,
to
that's
power.
fucking
You have
amazing,
to
man. That's
power
tight.
through it.
I feel you on that. That's yeah. And
You
then
know.
it's and then yeah, because that's the thing though. Like when we post things up for the most part,
Mm-hmm.
well, in my personal experience, because when I just thought about somebody and they're posting like the work behind the scenes, but I post the final product for the most part. I don't
Yeah.
really show none of
Exactly.
the actual work that's
Yeah.
going on. I'll probably post a picture just to kind of hint that something's coming, but for the most part, I just kind of post the final product. And sometimes there's a lot of like just back and forth, like, oh, I gotta fix this. So and then you think you're done, and then you listen to like, God damn, I'm not even close.
Yeah.
Like, oh
Yeah.
man, so you just gotta keep going, and then and then the final product is there. You're like, all right, go take a deep breath, nice,
Yeah.
But yeah, for the most part, but then we do find inspiration within all those trial and errors and
Exactly.
stuff. So I love that. Too. That's
Exactly.
one of my favorite parts. So
Yeah.
I feel you
I
on that.
think I just pulled up. I just remembered what the exact quote was from, because they artist map by 6 a.m. posted a picture of me, and
Oh
they
yeah,
used my quote, and the actual quote that I said in that interview, which I was like shocked. After I got done doing that interview, I was like, damn, like that's a good interview. Like I just wrote from the heart and just did it in one take, and I was like, yep, these are my answers. And then like I went back and like read it, and I was like, fuck, that's pretty good. So the actual quote is, trying something new is the key to inspiration. The magic is in the process. Learn to enjoy it. You know what I mean? Like, that's what's up. Like, I'm like, damn, I said that shit.
no, that's tight. That's sick. I think I've seen that picture for sure, and that's what um is true. It's true. It's not. It's like kind of like people think we're like, oh no, but it's tight. Like if you listen to a lot of people's interviews, some of the people that we look up to, there's always that story like of them, like when it's like, they're not big or they're doing well what they're known for. It's just kind of like the process, before they got to where they're at, where they're considered they're
yeah.
on the hierarchy or whatever. Just the ladder though, the
Yeah.
but yeah, that's kind of like what you're talking about too. And this interview is, highlighting for the most part. So I love it, man. I
Yeah.
love that.
And we're talking about, when you talk about you talk about the process, right? And, let's relate back to my latest LP, the Culture LP. Um, if you listen, I mean, if anybody cares to go listen to it, it's on Spotify, it's everywhere. But like the when you listen to that album, there was so much back and forth on that record. You know, I remember at one point I like went on a vacation, and I had to take my fucking entire tower with me because some of these tracks weren't on my laptop; they were on my tower. And I was like, man, I do not want to like. I went on a quote unquote vacation, but like I wasn't even on vacation. I was just working from a new place because I had to take the whole tower because I was like, man, I don't want to like slide the sessions over, and then like, what if something's missing, and what if I don't have the VST on this computer and this and that, and like, so there was all this shit going down, and so I was like, oh man, I just ended up taking the whole tower and working on it. And I mean, I'm talking about bounce after bounce after bounce, you know, export and final 2.2, final 2.2.2, final 2.2.3, final, you know, and all these fucking bounces because I just couldn't get it right. And I mean, over and over and over. So with this album, and I've always said this, but I've learned a lot is, you know, art is never finished. Art is abandoned. You know, you have to just at a certain point just abandon it. You know, you just have to be like, that's it. Take it from me now. You know what I mean? Because if you know, if you leave the painting,
I changed my mind.
Yeah, if you leave the painting at the artist's studio, I mean, when you come back tomorrow, you're gonna love it. When you come back tomorrow, it's gonna have a whole different theme. You know, it's gonna look different. Like, why'd you add all this red? Oh man, it's what I was feeling. You know, because art is a feeling. You know, and I really believe in, especially with tracks, you really have to capture how you're feeling in a track. You know what I mean? And you have to kind of do that shit quick, or else it's going to turn into something else. Because at least for me, and the way I write that's the way I write is each track has an emotion behind it. You know what I mean? Which again, you can hear that on the whole LP. The LP was designed to be listened to from top to back. You know, like you would back in the 90s. You know, my favorite album of all time is Chronic 2001. You know, Dr. Dre. I listen to that from top to back easily 50 times in a year, if not more. You know, full album, back top to back. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of way I wanted to design this record was, you know, you start at the beginning, which is a journey. You end up at my hip hop track. And the hip hop track was actually put on there to be like the bonus track. I don't know if you remember, you know, listening to your favorite CD back in the day, and there'd be like that bonus track that was like 30 minutes into the last track. You know what I mean? And you'd be like, you know, you'd be cleaning the house or something, and then that track would just come on. Like, what the fuck? I haven't heard this one. It's like a secret track, you know? That's kind of what I did the hip hop joint for.
That is the secret track, but it's like secret, but it's a gift for you.
Yeah, exactly.
And then kind of like, I guess not even fast forwarding, but like, when did you start kind of like dabbling to like really getting into the synthesizers and modular gear? Because I know you were always into producing, as we've been hearing right now as well too. And then, but when did you like? Because if you currently go onto like your social media, you're going ham with all that modular stuff, you know. With
man,
all that.
I mean, honestly, I've always been into equipment, into gear. I mean, even back when I was playing guitar, you know, I would have guitar pedals, and you know, I'd get, you know, I was upgrading my amp, but getting new amps, and you know, I went from like having a combo amp to like I had to have the Marshall half stack, and then I got the JCM 900 head. You know, I've always really been into like music equipment. So you know, I've collected drum machines, and you know, and then I got Ableton Push. And I just want to say, when I got Ableton Push, it really changed the game for me. It was like a big turning point, like for me, in understanding the immense power of Ableton at your fingertips with Push. Really like set me over like that bar where it was like, you know what, this is how the fuck I'm gonna play now. Like this, you know, I wanted to play live and like my own stems and bass lines that I've written. And, you know, because for me, it was like, it was a way to play tracks that I have written without spending all the time mixing them and bouncing them and exporting them and saving them and loading them to a USB. You know, I was just like, I'll just use this session and mix these drums that I did with these bass lines that I did, and see if people are liking them. And if I get a good response, then I'll finish that track, as opposed to like wasting my time finishing a bunch of tracks. I was like, let me test them out. And if people are feeling this vocal and this drop, I'll play them all live. And if people like it, then fucking I'll turn it into a track and I'll finish it and I'll put it out. You know what I mean? So
yeah.
So that's one thing. That's how I got into like, you know, playing with gear, you know? So I was like more of like a MIDI, you know, I got the K2 Allen Heath and I started MIDI mapping things and I started MIDI mapping things for Tractor. I started using the X1 and the F1 and I started really getting into like MIDI mapping things. And that's around that time is when I met Travarsi. I met her at a club and we became friends. And I did a mix for her. She was running something called Vibe Lounge, which was like a podcast. And I did a mix for her. She was like, hey, do you want to do a mix for me? I was like, yeah. And like I did a mix for her and she really liked it. And she reached out and, you know, we became friends. And then it was like, do you produce? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, do you produce? I was like, yeah. And she was like, you want to go to the studio and produce? And I was like, fuck yeah. You know, so then we went over to the studio and produced together. Long story short, we ended up getting a lockout studio together. And I moved all my equipment in there and, you know, we shared a studio for a while. And after linking with her, I mean, that was really like when I got into like equipment. Cause she is like a wizard with like all this equipment, you know what I mean? And so she's the one who really got me on game with modular. So she was the one that got me into modular. So now I'm like hooked on it and I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah,
and
she's amazing.
Yeah, man. She just played a live set today for a Synth booth and she just, you know, destroyed it, you know, and it's incredible to see. It's so dope to see her play a set with no computer, it's like straight up instruments, you know what I mean? And just transition and play an entire set with like just a box of stuff. You know what I mean? Like it's so dope. So that's you know, that's what got me inspired to do it. So like I said, I've always been into instruments and collecting instruments and drum machines and, you know, always that kind of stuff. But getting into modular was definitely something that SoCal Synth Society and Travarsi helped push that. And I couldn't be more thankful because I love this shit.
Yeah, that SoCal Synth Society looks so cool. And I'm guessing it's for anybody, right? Like beginners who are just trying to get into it and whatnot. So
yeah, and that's the beauty of it is it's really a safe place, like I said, for anybody looking to get into it, anybody that wants to get into it, anybody that's just a fan and wants to check it out. I mean, it's really just a cool way to alleviate some of the pressure because, you know, modular is kind of one of those things where it can be very it's a lot, you know, it's intimidating. Yes, thank you. It's intimidating. It's a lot. You know, you look at it and all those cables. And I remember when I first looked at it and I'd see videos of people playing with this shit, I'd be like, how the hell do you even start? You know? So it's nice.
Like how do you even know what you're doing? Yeah.
Like where do you know that cable goes? You know, and then after you talk to these, you know, some of these members and you get to know people, it's like, you know, everybody's just, you know, everybody's in it for the right reasons, man. And I think that's kind of the beauty of it, you know?
That's tight. I love that. And I know I'm going to ask you two different things though, but is there like a preference before, I mean, between performing live or DJing? Just like if you were to just mix like just vinyl I guess there's even a difference between DJs and vinyl, but
it just kind of depends on the atmosphere, you know. Something that I always told myself as an artist is I wanted to be versatile and I wanted to be able to play any way that I felt appropriate for the setting. You know, and that's something that's I've always wanted to do. Like, obviously, if I'm playing a rooftop lounge pool party, I'm definitely going to play a lot different than if I play a warehouse at 3 a.m. You know, and like
you're not bringing the drums.
Yeah, I'm not bringing the drums, bro. And the lights and the fucking fog machine, dog. Nice. I like how you tied that on. You've been waiting to tell me that, huh?
So dude, just because I picture that, bro, like, so just, you know, that's an image right there. That's tight, but I love it, man. I fucking love that.
Yeah, I'll play this rooftop lounge party, bro. Load up the drums. Don't forget that fog machine.
It's like a metaphorical, like, yo. Yeah, exactly. That's a metaphorical too. Like, yo, you better give them the drums. You better give them the lights. You better give them the fog machine.
Exactly, bro. Don't forget it.
You know, give it. You know, you're off.
Yeah. So it's like I said. I mean, sometimes I like to play vinyl. You know, and like if I'm playing like a, you know, It just kind of depends, man. Honestly, it really depends. I like being able to just play. If I have to choose, obviously, like festival, if I'm playing a festival, I would definitely much rather play hybrid, because I feel like it's the best of both worlds. I mean, I'm able to play live and experiment and layer and kind of be myself and be a little bit creative. But I also like to be able to play tracks that I like, and I like to be able to manipulate them and play them in a way that might be different than somebody else would play them. I've always liked
Yeah,
playing hybrid for that in particular.
that's true. And I think that's what you've always have. I think from that. Well, I know of you that you can play vinyl, CDJs, tractor,
Yeah.
hybrid. So, but I think I for sure can see you like as a hybrid set, like for sure, just because it's the best of both the worlds and shit. So
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
clean.
thank you. I
Love it. Love
appreciate
it.
it. If I can bring my studio knowledge into the DJ booth, I mean, why not? We have the technology.
That's true. That's true. And and currently, like, what would do you have any? Well, yeah. What's influenced you musically right now? I know you put out a culture LP.
hmm
You've also put out an EP, LP on Tech
Yep.
Avenue and an EP with Aquila
hmm
with with the homie Annika Wolf.
hmm
So shout out to you, Annika.
Shout out
But
Annika.
yeah, with Travarsi. So talking about Travarsi, you did a collaborative EP
Yeah.
with her, Conflicted,
Yeah.
if I'm not
Conflicted. Yeah.
mistaken.
Conflicted is the name of that EP. That EP is a live EP. Speaking of hybrid setups, we decided to release a live EP to kind of capture our energy and the way we play together. So Travarsi and I, when we play together, we typically get some really cool shit just because of our music influences are very similar and different, if that makes sense, So they meet in the middle, and that EP was all live. Obviously, Travarsi on modular and myself playing Ableton, and I was using drum machines and drum racks and vocal samples, and we did this EP, and we decided to put it out, and we were lucky enough to put it out with Aquila. And again, like you said, I'll say it again. Shout out Annika Wolf. Thank you so much for that. And also, we have a remix by Lee K on that EP, which
Oh
is
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
which is huge. Super thankful for that. She killed the remix for Provoke, and yeah, we're just happy with the way it came out. It was nice to be able to put something out that was fresh and different for us. It was fun.
Yeah, man, that shit was tight. When I saw that, I don't know, even just seeing the Lee K remix and everything, I'm like, oh, clean, and it's tight. Just like I think everybody has seen you and Travarsi just messing, having your little sessions,
Yeah,
with all the modular
yeah,
gear and just equipment in general. So then for an EP to come out, a project is dope. So it makes sense,
yeah,
and I like that. So
yeah. We
and
have some new stuff we're working on as well. Stay tuned for that. Travarsi and I have been cooking up some new stuff as well. Not really sure, and also just excited about lots of stuff to come. I'll say that.
okay,
Yep.
I like that. Be ready, everybody. And what's influencing you at the moment? With everything, I'm not saying going on, but just in general, what's keeping you motivated, inspired musically, and just I'm not sure if this is a word, lively,
Yeah, yeah,
but
yeah.
just life in general.
Man, so I'll start with musically. Um, I have been really on this like hip hop beat tape, vibe. I'm really into like down tempo shit right now, like lo-fi hip hop, study music, if that's what it's called on YouTube, any of that kind of shit right now. Boom bap hip hop right now is I'm really feeling that. Um, but then also a lot of electronic music. There's a lot of vinyl that I'm collecting right now that's coming in that I'm getting. A lot of unknown artist shit. You know what I mean? People make these tracks, they're unknown artists. Love that shit. Um, and just a lot of everything, man. I'm pulling out vinyl. I'm listening to some Isley Brothers and, you know, a little bit of everything, man. Honestly, with the times we're in right now, man, like I've been listening to literally everything and just really appreciating and enjoying every second of music, really into like Joe K and
Yeah.
all the selection stuff right now. Really feeling that.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah.
selection podcast, man, is really selection radio has really been getting me through, man. I gotta give a big shout out to selection. That shit's been like, it's just so refreshing and it just sounds fresh and it just, I can put it on and just vibe with it.
Yeah, I respect that. Selection is fucking sick. Shout out to Joe K
Yeah,
for
shout
sure.
out Joe K.
I even saw a tweet this thing like today or yesterday said selection is here to stay, and I'm like, it makes sense
Yeah,
because just the freshness and even kind of playing classic, hip hop or
yeah,
just in general, like these tracks, these timeless
yeah,
tracks. If you
timeless
want to
tracks. Yeah,
really describe it
eclectic,
and stuff.
eclectic soul. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes, yes.
Um, and then obviously, life stuff has been. I've been reading a bunch. I've been listening to a lot of audiobooks. I've been doing a lot of driving. So when I'm driving, I typically listen to like an audiobook. Um, just some positivity, man. Listening to a lot of positivity stuff and just things that like help you realize like you're not the only one feeling the way you're feeling. You know what I mean? Like there's a lot of people struggling right now with a lot of different things, and we're here for you, man. If anybody's listening to this, like everybody's here for you. Like pick up a phone, call a friend, ask them how they're doing, call your mom, call your dad, just call people, man. People are around, people are, everybody's here for everybody right now, man. It feels like isolation, but I mean, it's very much a time to reach out and connect to people that you need to connect with.
Yes, yeah, this is for sure a time also to I've been doing a lot of self-actualization too. So
Yeah.
there's a moment just to and then also just to really reconnect with people that you probably haven't or just reconnect with people or just stay, connected with the people that but I think that's key what you're saying, reconnect with people that you haven't really reconnect or have been connecting
Yeah.
as much as you should
Mm-hmm,
be
mm-hmm.
doing too. But yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
I respect that.
Yeah. And then,
And
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh no, but I was just basically kind of saying, like, and maybe tying in that. What do you think the future holds for the LA music scene?
Um, it's hard to say, man.
I know it's gonna be hard. I know it's kind of
Yeah.
hard, but it's just kind of a
I
question
mean, with
that,
the LA,
like, maybe kind of picks at your brain.
yeah, yeah, with the LA music scene, man. I don't know. I have. It's a wild thing, man. It's a wild thing. Um, Obviously, I think those who are into it, with that are dedicated to it, I think this is the time that they're going to prevail. Because a lot of the things that were attractive about the music industry before might not be there right now. You know, so whatever that means. I think a lot of cats are. Let me rewind. One of the things that I feel like is very dope right now is you're getting to see artists really, really be artists, because a lot of artists right now are doing live streams and there's no pressure of like filling the dance floor or like, I'm playing at 12 a.m. So what does my set sound like? A lot of these artists, man, are just being artists, and it's so beautiful to see. Is just the true. I mean, some of the records I've been catching people playing on these live streams, man, they've just been phenomenal. And I'm like, holy shit! Like I would never see you play like this if I just seen you at a club, you know. So that's one thing that's cool. But I mean, as far as the future of music, man, music will last forever, man. It ain't going nowhere, and and like I said, people were doing it before us, people will do it after us, and it's really just nice to be a part of, be a part of this moment in history. Be a part of the journey, be a part of the, you know, it's nice. It's nice to be in it. I'll say that.
That's true. I like what you're saying. I can for sure agree with you. The people who are doing it just because they will always be doing it, no matter what the
Yeah,
situation is,
yeah.
are going to prevail and everything as well too. And I do see what you're saying in these live streams. People just being able to play what they're feeling
Mm-hmm,
at the moment.
mm-hmm.
If they want to play some other shit that they're used to, like playing at a dark warehouse, go for it. But I think you are seeing a lot of more creative freedom, and I think people are taking advantage of this. So it's pretty cool to see that for sure.
Yeah, I agree. And yeah, it's nice, man.
But
It's
yeah, you've been doing some live streams too. How's that? How did you've been enjoying them?
same. I mean, bro, same thing. Yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun to be able to play records that I want. Experiment and get weird with it. It's definitely really fun for sure. How about yourself?
And
How about yourself, man? You still playing? You playing out? When we've been.
well, the thing is that I did one fucking live stream, but that was I think maybe in June
Yeah,
or July.
yeah.
It was July or August. I don't know.
How do you feel
But
about it?
I've just only been doing one live stream. But I've been enjoying the live streams more than anything. For sure though, I've been just doing a lot of like just DJing in my room, The
Nice,
homie let me borrow his XDJs I've been having for a couple months. So
nice, dude.
I've kind of put away the tractor for the most part. And I've
Wow.
just been just mixing with that for just kind of dabbling in that. So and the live stream that I did was on CDJs, and I'm talking this or putting an emphasis on this because I guess for the homies who know, for example, like you, they know that I've been a tractor
Yeah,
DJ
yeah,
for the most part.
yeah. I
So
did know that.
yeah, so I think yeah, so
And how do you
I don't think well since it's on. Go
how do
ahead.
you feel about it? How do you feel about tractor versus CDJs? We'll talk about that.
I love both, man, and I respect both. And I think what I've come to the conclusion is like it's all whatever you want to do. And
Exactly.
but my point where I'm kind of going with the CDJs is because I'm just kind of getting tired of bringing my laptop to the party
Yeah, yeah,
to the event because for those who know me, I like to stick around and get my party on. And I
yeah,
think I'm just kind of getting tired of like, and also too, I do a drive, from San Bernardino to Los Angeles, so
yeah.
um. A lot of times it's just kind of like I don't want to be carrying my laptop around. I don't know, and I think it's more for that reason, just kind of trying to be more light
Got it.
because I'm doing a long trip and just for the most part. But and also too, I just want to be prepared to be able to play whatever
Got it.
equipment is available in a sense.
Yep.
But I love both and I respect both because at home I just use the XCJs and I have a couple outings where I've just taken my equipment and I take my laptop, for tractor, and get I go ham on it too. And this
Yep.
past weekend I had a with the homie Eddie Alvarado and Joe, aka
Mm-hmm.
Dante Sim from Sim Passion. We had a little mix session and
Wow.
we
That's
were
all the
using
homies
tractor.
from.
So
That's all the throwback
yeah,
homies right there.
yes,
Shout
yes,
out, shout out
and we're
all
using
of them.
tractor.
Massive love to all of them. Joe and
Yes.
Eddie, Eduardo, all those guys, man. Mad love. Fuck yeah. Keeping it OG. I like
Yeah,
it.
man. Thank you. I know you see you. That's it, and that's for the most part. It's always been. That's why, um, we've all been this in it for a cool minute. We've seen each other's like
Yeah.
different musical endeavors. I want to say Joe because part of the Gurus. They were
Yeah.
doing the stuff, and then and I
Yeah.
think I met you through Roscoe and Joe, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
But it's all that right there that kind of we all come together, and we've still been in each other's realm in a sense, musical
Yeah.
realm and life,
Yeah.
internet space.
And
We're
it's
still been doing it. So,
and it's nice to see everybody still doing it. Shout out to everybody who wakes up every day
yeah,
and puts their
yeah,
best foot forward and continues to grow every day. Whether, like I said, whether it's in music, whether it's in anything you do, if you wake up every day and put your best foot forward and make it through another day, man, shout out you and massive love to everyone still making art and doing their thing, man. It's a big respect to anybody who can you know make art and be themselves and create. It takes a lot to create. So I just wanted to just say
yeah.
that.
Hell yeah, man. Thank you for that, man. Those are
Back.
some kind words. And shout out to you, man.
Yeah, thank
Shout
you.
out to you for sure.
Thank you. Thank you.
Because you've
Yeah.
oh, but go ahead. Were you gonna
I was going to say back to thank you so much for the kind words. I appreciate that. And I was going to talk about the CDJs versus the tractor is I've
oh yeah,
realized,
yeah,
I've
yeah, yeah.
realized that I play differently on both, because you kind of have to.
Yeah.
It's a different workflow for
The
CDJs.
different tools.
It's different tools.
Yeah.
Exactly. So with that being said, it's just a different workflow, and like you said, I like the fact that you said I have respect for both because I definitely do. And I can appreciate both. And they're just different. They're just different tools for different jobs. So
Yeah.
definitely,
That's
definitely with that.
yeah.
And I mean, back in the day,
Yeah.
back in the day, playing tractor was always so frowned upon. But remember all that shit? Everybody, oh, no, don't
Yes,
bring your fucking
yes.
laptop, and
Laptop,
it's
yeah.
cheating. And it's like, bro, have you seen the CDJ 3000s? That's like fucking 2 laptops on stage. Now it's like 4 laptops. Like, why? Because it's called
Yeah, that's true.
it's called Record Box and not Tractor. That makes it different. Like, it's the same shit, bro. Like, stop hating. Like, you know what I mean? Like, everybody, like, go. Anybody who could, like I was saying earlier, anybody who can get up on stage and play in front of anybody and put themselves out there like that deserves respect, man. If somebody can get on stage and play a fucking bucket with a stick and people are like, fuck yeah, and they have a crowd, I mean, you can't knock the hustle, man. Like, art is subjective, dude. Music is subjective. It really turns me off, man, when people are like, I hear people like talking about other people and the way they play or this or that or this or that. It's like, that's just so like, just, let people be themselves, man, however they want to play. I feel like that's, like when I used to hear that, people were like, can't you just play CDJs? Like, yeah, I can play CDJs, but this is like, if I'm going to fucking load my own shit in and set my own shit up there and get there early to sound check so I make sure my shit works, like, what does it matter if I play CDJs or this? Like, you know what I mean? Like, it was just, I remember it
Yeah,
was such a
yeah.
thing. Like, now it's gotten a lot better because people just stopped caring about it. But I remember 5 years ago playing Tractor was like, really, bro? Just play CDJs. It's like, dude, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. I just wanted to just
Yeah.
play
No.
play with whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah, that's the main thing. I remember I had a couple people tell me like, dude, just play what you feel comfortable with,
Yeah,
man.
like whatever.
He's like, don't feel pressured to be able to use this, certain, you know, equipment just because it's the end thing to do, or it will make you look like you know what you're doing. Or I don't know, whatever.
Yeah.
But also too, I just kind of wanted to prove to myself that I
Of
can be
course.
able to use
Of
different tools and
course.
stuff
And
too. So
that's
I'm like, you know
and
what?
that's that right there is a true artist is what it's all about. Is proving it to yourself and nobody else. I mean, that's what matters.
Yeah, honestly, yeah, for reals. I was just like, man, maybe at least if I can know, because I'm like, I've mixed with, when you use two different sound cards with another homie,
Yeah.
and we mix each other's tracks through there as well too. But
Yeah.
I'm like, I just want to be able to know what to do if I was to be placed in front of some CDJ
Yeah.
type,
Show up to a venue and that's all
equipment.
they
So
got.
yeah, and then maybe I'm just saying my laptop, messes up or something, whatever. I'm like, oh, no worries, I got my fucking USB set up. Let's go, no worries,
Exactly.
let's get it. Do do do. I
Exactly.
don't know. I just want to be ready. So,
Exactly.
but yeah, I love the CDJ versus
Yeah,
tractor
right.
talk.
Dun dun dun. That's gonna be the clickbait for this
I guess that'd be like, listen to Shaun Cruda and Guillermo talk.
tractor versus
CDJs
tractor.
tractor. I know that's oh
that's
my
that
god.
that's the thumbnail, bro. That's the clickbait.
And it's like a picture of us all pissed
Yeah,
and shit, like
exactly.
talking.
Exactly. Sweating in a heated debate about tractor versus
Yeah.
CDJs.
For consensus and final answer,
Yeah.
man, you play what you want to play with.
Exactly. And be
Um,
yourself. Do
but
whatever you want, man. I
yeah,
think that's
yeah,
that's that's
yeah,
the best thing. That's art, man. There's not another you in the world, and I think that's the beauty of art. Like, I always say playing music is telling your story, man, and your story may help somebody save somebody's life. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know music for me has an emotional thing with me. I mean, I know I'm gonna bring it up because I know we always talk about it, but like Kid Cudi, and like all that, or
Woo!
that shit, like, bro, Man on the Moon, bro, favorite record. Well, that's
Yeah.
another one of my favorite records of all time.
Yes.
I've listened to
Yeah.
that record more times than I can count, and I mean, it's just my go-to feel-good record and feel-bad record. You know what I mean? Like,
Yes. 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 Yes.
it's like,
No, for
if
real,
I'm trying to get like, if I'm trying to get in that zone, then I'm gonna throw it on. You know what I mean? I'm gonna throw it on.
dude. That I was just talking to somebody. I was just like the thing about Kid Cudi is like, he makes, he's like, one, he's talking about what you're feeling, even if it's in a moment, but he makes you not feel
Yeah,
alone, and then sometimes to embrace these feelings
yeah,
that are your feeling as well too.
yeah,
So, and I know a lot of people can really agree with that. So, and it's also cool to see Kid Cudi's like different mainstream
yeah,
success currently.
yeah,
So, but it's kinda I'm like, "Oh, shit." I'm like, that kinda proves a lot of, like, because I've there was a point where I did hear some people kinda, like, talk shit about Kid Cudi when I would talk so, like, enthusiastic about it, and they're like, "Man, fuck Kid Cudi, man. He's fucking weird," or something.
yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
like and then kinda to prove I'm like, "Man, he's not. And the
I
thing
mean,
is
but
that,
that's the thing.
but
That,
yeah,
yeah, it's like, go ahead. Sorry.
like you said, music is subjective. No, music is subjective. Certain
Yeah,
things, I'm like, all right,
I mean
whatever.
there's no denying that Man on the Moon is amazing. Man on the Moon 2 was amazing. Some of the stuff he put out, he was just being himself, man. You know what I mean? And like
He was experimenting. Yeah, yeah,
experimenting, and there's nothing wrong with that. And I think there's nothing wrong with that. And I think that that's, I feel like a lot of people are quick to judge when like it's easy to judge. You know what I mean? Like, as opposed to just being like, yeah, I mean, fuck, he tried something cool. Like, I can't wait for his next shit. You know what I mean? Or that's with anybody. You know what I mean? Like, that's kind of why another reason. I mean, I decided to put the hip hop joint Sunshine Lie on Culture LP was because I'm very heavily influenced by hip hop. You know what I mean? And it's part of my story. And that's what I entitled it Culture. That's why there's Randy's Donuts on the cover. Culture to me is something that's just super important. And I mean, being yourself, like we just talked about, I think it's all a journey, man. It's all a journey.
yeah, yeah. And we're all, and then in this journey, I know we all have individual journeys, but we're all in this together
Yeah,
in this entire human collective journey.
exactly. And we're
But
all, and
you
we're
know,
all, on this planet at the same time, man. And that's a beautiful thing. And like I said, and to share, talking with you, man, it's nice to catch up with you and wrap up. So it's been good, man. You know?
yeah, dude, I love it. I love it. And just to kind of even almost close off the interview, I kind of want to let you give some advice or tips to artists that want to get their foot in the door,
Yeah.
with promoters or just other
Yeah.
artists, and kind of if you want to, each one teach one
Yeah.
on your end.
Yeah.
So
So my advice is don't stop, start now, and just be nice. Be nice. That's and never stop learning. Never think you know more than somebody else. I mean, and just again, I really heavily state, just be nice, man. Be humble, be respectful. I feel like one of them old heads right now, like, treat others with respect, treat those the way, but it's true, man. Treat those the way you want to be treated,
yeah,
man.
yeah, yeah.
You never know where you're going to end up. You never know any of that, man. So like I said, my advice would start now. Don't quit. Be yourself. Even when you get told no, just keep going, man. I mean, that's what this is all about. The only, you fail, you try and fail, you try and fail, try and fail. But the only true failure is when you stop trying, So that would be my advice, man, is just never surrender.
I like that, man. Yeah, that's for sure. That's something that always kind of and I think a lot of us who are still doing it, for the most part, we're still doing it because of that. We're just keep going and going. Everybody has trials and tribulations. Everybody's going through something, and for the most part, we all, are have found this haven,
Yeah.
to safe
Yeah.
haven, and we're pushing,
Yeah.
and we're continuing to push and follow our dreams and goals.
Yeah.
So,
And
and respect to you, because throughout this whole conversation, I know people are going to find an inspiration and motivation.
thank you, man. I really appreciate that. And I just wanted to say, I mean, that's one of the reasons I do it, man, is to inspire others. That's always something that I've seen myself doing. And music is a universal language, and it's something, the music itself is something that's been passed down and passed down and passed down. So, share with friends, share, I'm always open for questions. I get people in my DM all the time asking me questions. I'm always open to share. I'm always open to answer questions about, anything. It's just about sharing, man, sharing knowledge, and being there for one another, you know, I think that's what it's all about right there.
Yeah, I respect that, and I agree with that as well too. Big time, big time. And you kind of did hint, but not fully hint. But is there anything else that you kind of want to hint that's coming in with the following months and year and next year? Because you did mention some stuff with Travarsi and stuff, but is there some things that you can maybe highlight? Not sure. I know you today. I think you posted up, if somebody, I think as a vote, like, should I release a beat tape, or was it an EP,
Yeah,
or
no.
what was the two options?
So the two options that I posted today were, I'm sitting on two folders right now of edits that I've made for some of my sets. I have some cool edits in there that I made I didn't even make them to release them. I made them specifically to just play in my sets. And then I have a beat reel of just beats that I've made and I put together. Some are short, some are longer than others. They're very like Jay Dilla-esque, like just unfinished, just raw. Some of them are finished, some of them are not. And like we just talked about them being a finished idea. Like I'm just abandoning them. Like they're ready to go. I'm tired of sitting on them. Like I want them out. So so far everybody's leaning on the beat tape. People want to hear the beat tape because believe it or not, one of the tracks that I get talked to the most about was the hip hop track on the album, the Sunshine Lie on the Culture LP. A lot of people have said that they've resonated with that track. It's their favorite track on the album. And they just really like what I did with it. And it's funny. It's the track that I didn't think would do the, I knew I wanted it on the LP. I knew that if Tech Avenue didn't want it, I was going to work really hard to try to convince them to put it on there. You know what I mean? And they were like, no, let's put it on there. And like I said, it ended up working out the best because and people that I wouldn't even think that would care so much about it are messaging me like, dude, love that track. It's my favorite track on the album. It's dope. So I think people want a little bit more of that from me because the votes right now on the IG are leaning in the beat tape world. So
beat tape, yeah.
Yeah. So I think that's what I'm going to end up dropping. So depending on what works out with this interview, hopefully by the time you're listening to this interview, the beat tape will be out and you can get that.
Hey, I love that. Yeah, we'll coordinate something so for sure people can get this, kind of like as a maybe a group release or just something. But for sure, hell yeah,
yeah. That sounds fun. That sounds great.
Any maybe upcoming live streams or anything as people can maybe catch you performing?
There's something in the works right now for December 3rd. That's a little bit away, but yeah, I think as of right now, man, I'm just, I'm also just, like I said, with doing this album, I'm actually taking some time to like recoup and gather my thoughts, you know what I mean? And kind of put some things back into perspective. I'm really big on staying like, I'm really big on like not just staying busy, but like being productive, so sometimes I have to take a step. Sometimes I have to take a step back to take 2 steps forward. You know what I mean? Because I used to find myself just constantly working and working and working towards something, but like I just burned myself out. So now I've realized like if I stop, take a breath, reinvest my energy into something, then I'm ready. I'm full. My tank is full again. My gas tank's full again. So that's where I'm at right now. I'm taking kind of like a little bit of a break. Obviously I'm working on music. Obviously that never stops. But as far as like releasing and all that kind of stuff, I kind of want to get, a game plan together. So I do have some stuff coming out. I'm not going to talk about it right now. Everybody will just have to stay tuned. And again, while I have this opportunity in your ear, thank you for all your continuous support. Thank you for listening to Beyond Normal Days and supporting the brother Guillermo. Great people. Thank you for having me again. I'm actually, you know what? Stay tuned for Tech Avenue's radio show. I'll say that. That's what I got in the works right now. So Tech Avenue Records radio show. I'll say that. That's a little precursor. So we'll see where that goes.
Yeah, I'm down. I love that. I people don't have to feel pressure when I have them on here to like say something, but I just like to like if it's possible, like if you're allowed to say some stuff, go ahead and run it, man. But I understand how sometimes it's also like just to kind of give people a little, like just keep them wanting, for more as well too. So I'm down. Tech Avenue radio show, possibly something December 3rd. I know probably some music will come out. Maybe the beat tape,
the beat tape,
more
man.
recent kind of talk. So I love that. I love
And
that.
thank and
But I
yeah,
do
go
want
ahead,
to.
go ahead.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I
Go.
just want to
No, no,
say,
go
man,
ahead. No,
thank.
go
I
ahead.
just
That's
wanted
okay.
to. I wanted to say thank you to giving artists a platform to be themselves and talk about themselves, because I feel like this is a lot of the stuff that we talked about, man, are things that we don't typically get to talk about. And it's nice that you're building this database of
Yeah.
all these incredible artists that are telling their story, because, hopefully a kid will stumble across some of these and get inspired to become the next artist that he or she needs to be, So I just, I wanted to give you your props too, and just say thank you for giving a platform to the artists that you feel that, deserve it. Thank you.
Oh man, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I like that he said database
Yeah.
of of these conversations, because yeah, they are. I like that because also, dude, like I before even recording this podcast or just just show, and 2 years ago, I was having these conversations at a club
Yeah.
or
No,
at a rave
absolutely.
or underground event. So, and then I got
Absolutely.
to the point I'm like, it'd be cool to just sit down and record these,
Absolutely.
and just
And
an environment,
and
or
it's
this time remotely,
and
but
it's one of those things that a lot of cats think about, but you really put the energy into it and did it. And I mean, that's another thing to be proud of, and that's another a piece of advice that I would give is stop thinking about it and just do it, because
yeah, yeah, I
you got to
feel
get
you.
the idea out of your head and into the world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that I remember at one point I was just kind of like, I blew how you said, I was just doing it and doing it, and then I got to a point where I'm like, oh damn, dude, what am I doing? But then I'm like, but like in a way, I'm like, oh shit, like I've actually like really went with it and ran with it, and it's um really becoming something. So I appreciate those kind of words, and keeping me inspired for sure. So
Absolutely.
I love having these conversations. I know this one, the beginning. I know I have this booklet. I think I showed it to somebody, and I have all these names of people who. It's a bunch of the whole page is filled. And I know your name is on there. I was thinking, I'm like, okay, I want to talk to these people. Ba, ba,
Nice,
ba, 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 ba,
nice.
ba, ba, ba,
I
ba.
really appreciate it. Yeah, I
So,
really appreciate you having me on, man. Like I said, it's nice to be asked to just tell your story. It's great. Thank you.
oh no, man, thank you. I appreciate it. Uh, but yeah, where can people find you on social media? Where we can find you on the
Yeah,
web?
on the web, across all social media platforms, I'm at Shaun Cruda. You can find me there, Spotify, Bandcamp, Apple Music, anywhere you stream, you can find my stuff. Please head over to Spotify and check out my latest album on Tech Avenue Records, the Culture LP. Please check that out. Like I said, that's a piece of artwork that I think I definitely want everybody to share. If you want to hear what I sound like, check that out. Shout out MadHouse DJs. Shout out SoCal Synth Society. Shout out 6 a.m. Group. 900 Block. Let's see, who else am I missing? Just, if I missed you, I'm sorry, but I got mad love for you, and all that good stuff, man.
I know the shout outs gets a little bit kind of pressuring because you forget to like,
Yeah,
or you think back like, did I forget somebody? But just shout out to everybody. That's the main thing
exactly,
what Shaun is trying to say,
exactly.
So, but yeah, man, I appreciate this combo that we had. I know a lot of people are gonna find it inspiring, and but thank you more than anything. Thank you, my
Thank
dude.
you, bro. Thank you for having me. Take care, everyone. Stay safe, and stay productive. Stay good. Peace, y'all.
Yeah. So everybody, this is the Beyond Roma Days Shaun Cruda episode. Bye bye, y'all.